Howdy everybody. Wanted to do a video today to do a showcase on a new knife I just picked up. This is the Gerber Prodigy Tanto survival knife. It is a fixed blade, obviously. It's 9.75 inches with a 4.75 inch blade. And I was in the market for a knife to replace my previous folding knife. I was looking for a knife that'd be great for bushcraft, camping, backpacking. I do a lot of backpacking, and right now I just use a small pocket knife. I believe it's the SOG Flash 2, and it's a good knife, but I wanted to get something that was a bit more sturdy, that would be better at actually chopping firewood and bushcrafting and making tinder and stuff like that. Again, great knife, great steel, but I wanted something a bit bigger, perhaps to compensate for something. And man, I'm just the kind of person, whenever I get a new knife, I just love to feel it and absorb the craftsmanship and obsess over it and carouse it. And I'll do this for about 3 days. I think my family members might think I'm a bit crazy because I have this knife with me at all times for about 3 days. But that's just the way I am, man. With watches, with guns, with cars, with anything. I love great craftsmanship and engineering. This was made in Portland, Oregon, which I will generally only buy the Gerber knives that are made in the USA. I will not buy them if they're made in China. Two reasons for that. One is I just want to be able to support American companies and workers, and also because there's definitely a difference in craftsmanship on certain knives depending on where they are built. It has obviously the black oxide finish, which this is going to be my beat 'em up knife. I'm going to be chopping firewood with this, throwing it at trees, putting it to work, really getting a lot out of it. I have no plans to keep this in a trophy case, to collect it, to preserve it. I really want to go to town with this knife. And that's the great thing about it. You can get it for under 50 bucks if you look on Amazon or you look at some other retailers that have it for much cheaper. I think I've seen it as cheap as $37, but generally it's going to be between 40 and 50 bucks, which is perfect because you can take it out, you can go to town with it, and you're not going to feel guilty as you would with a much more expensive knife like with a Benchmade or what have you. So let's get into some specs real quick, and then I'll kind of get my final first impressions out. It has the 420HC steel, which is much softer than a 440C steel. But the great part about having actually a softer steel is it's much easier to sharpen and get an edge on it. When 440C first came out or was first really being utilized, a lot of people were complaining about it because they could not get the edge on it like they wanted. It was just very hard to sharpen. This is much easier to sharpen. So if you're actually going out in the backcountry, I highly recommend bringing a sharpener or just not depending on the blade to actually stay sharp, especially in longer trips. As we already said, a 4.75 inch blade. I was looking at a knife that perhaps had a 5 inch blade or greater, but after feeling this in person and taking a look at it, I think a 4.75 inch blade is perfect. It weighs 12.45 ounces, so the weight of this is actually pretty hefty. When you first pull it out of the sheath, I was very surprised at how much heftiness it had. Now it's well balanced. It is well balanced over the frame. Let me see if I can get it balanced on my finger. Yeah, it's got a good balance on it, but I was just surprised at the bulkiness and the heftiness of this knife. And that's one of the good reasons if you get a better steel, you can have a knife that's a bit lighter because the steel is stronger. You do not need more steel and more weight to compensate for that strength, but it does have you have a lot of confidence holding this knife that it's not going to break or chip or what have you. Take a look at the sheath real quick. It's a Kydex sheath and it secures in here very securely. In fact, you don't even need this top strap. It's rather overkill. So let's put it in there real quickly without stabbing myself in the hand. There you go. And right then and there, you don't even need this buckle right there. It's going to be staying there no matter what. And to pull it out, just put your thumb right there and slowly pull it out. Honestly, I'm much more of a fan of leather sheaths. I'd rather have this part be the actual part that secures it in, and once this is unlatched, I want a nice easy transition out of the sheath. But this was for, coming with the knife. I love the digital camo and I love this sheath, so I can't complain at all there. It is a U.S. Army spec, so if you are in the U.S. Army, I assume they would let you carry this in certain situations. The one problem I have with it, normally I would never have bought this knife. I had a Home Depot gift card, which made it, only about an $18 knife. And I went to Home Depot and this is one of the only ones they had. But typically I do not get a knife that has serrations or a Tanto blade. Now the Tanto part of it's not too bad. It does look pretty cool and it gives it a more kind of tactical look to it. But the serrations are a bit high. I would have Would have preferred they've been going to about there, maybe a quarter way up, but halfway up the blade or more is just a bit too much in my opinion. Serrations aren't useless. A lot of people just think serrations are a total waste when you're actually out in the backcountry, which I disagree. I think for actually making tinder, it does give you a bit more splinters and it gives you more. I just think for specifically making tinder with a stick, it just performs better, although it is harder to sharpen. The grip on here is a all conditions grip, meaning it's supposed to be grippy in wet conditions and snow conditions and hot conditions. I've tested it with a wet condition and it holds up okay. The one thing about this grip is it's slightly dependent on this texture, but I'm just assuming because it's a rubber handle that this texture coating is going to rub away pretty easily and eventually it's just going to be a flat kind of texture. I did accidentally chip this when I was taking the knife out of the packaging, so you can blame me there. I might put some cord around this or some tape or whatnot just to give it that extra grip. Now the serrations, one more thing, I'll go back to that. I don't like how they added the serrations on this side of the blade, because if you're thinking about if you're making some tinder with a stick, you'd want to probably be doing it this way so that the actual tinder pops up on this side when you're going. But if you can see here, I'm using my left hand, not my right hand, because if I use my right hand, the serrations are aimed towards the bottom. And to me, considering only 10% of the population is left-handed, I figured it'd be much smarter of them to actually add the serrations on this side when you're actually cutting away from you making the tinder. But that's just a personal gripe, and I'm sure I'll be able to get around it somehow. Just all my previous blades either didn't have serrations, or if they did have serrations, it would have been on the other side. Other than that, yeah, I love the heftiness of it. I love the price. I think the steel could be better, but obviously you get what you pay for. And I'll be sure to have a future review of this coming out within the next 2 weeks. I want to get a lot of work into this and put it through some tests, and then hopefully after that I'll have enough information and data to be able to give a proper review. Anyways, take care guys, and keep watching my videos and subscribe. Cheers.